Hello, lovely earthlings, all of you, earthlings of all sorts. This is going to be a reading for Venus retrograde, which happened very within the last couple of hours. Venus went retrograde in Scorpio. I was kind of waiting. I ordered another deck. It's called the R Tarot, and it has a either contemporary or historical woman, artist, politician, etc. Some sort of powerful woman for each archetype. And I was waiting for that one to do the Venus. It's supposed to come in the mail anytime, and I recommend it. But I've been waiting for that one to do the Venus retrograde. But now what I'm thinking is, I just want to go ahead and do it because the time is now. The time is just, crested, and we're in it. And also, all I've been saying, in the 2 or so months since I started being on YouTube, I've been talking so much about, letting the old stories fall away so that we're not encrusted in these old stories. Each of us wears or bears or inhabits or expresses whatever archetypes that we relate to in terms of gender, in terms of various, gods and goddesses, stories, narratives, and then, other socially and biologically defined things. Anyway, what I'm saying is that we don't have to relinquish everything, relinquish the entire past, relinquish everything familiar in order to sort of re-inhabit these things in a new way, in a way that feels true to our soul's dignity, to our soul's true shape. I got the marriage card. This is for the fixity. This cloth represents the fixity of the sign of Scorpio for this reading. Oh look, I didn't change out the flowers. It's all okay. We're morphing. We're transforming. But bringing together in a foundational way, a new foundation. Someone's going by. Sorry. There's a butterfly swirling about outside, a white butterfly, but that's not what's making that noise. Okay. So this to me at this time represents a way to sort of bring together what is dear, what is joyous, what is sustaining from the past or from the familiar. Bring that into a marriage with what has been withheld, or what has been oppressed, or what has been unseen, what has remained unexpressed for whatever reason, and to bring these into an integration. And I loved what Aluna Ash said. Aluna Ash's channel, I'll link to it, or I'll put it in the box. She said recently, or within the last few weeks, that purging and integration are the same thing, so that when we're going through these difficult moments of like just feeling awful or very upset or weeping, that is the exact moment that we are also integrating. We're doing the integrative work. It's not, these aren't polarities like at one moment you're out of control, upset, and at the other moment you're somehow in control and integrating. No. These travel together. These cohabit. These are simultaneous, so that the feeling of the pain and the feeling of it is part of integrating whatever was perhaps hidden behind that, or hidden within that, or hurt. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to draw one for Scorpio, for Venus retrograde in Scorpio for Scorpio's watery energy. I have the King of Cups underneath. And these are my oldest, and started with my oldest deck, even though I wanted to do the whole reading with my newest deck. Okay, so I'm practicing what I preach. Okay, we got the sun. How glorious. The sun with water. We get a rainbow bridge I'm going to draw for Chiron too. So the sun is just, I mean, it's the life force. It's the universe. It's starlight. It's sunlight. It's close. It's far. It's within us. It's within every star. It's our sweethearts as their own holy suns. You know, and in our bodies that carry these. So that's a lovely card to get for all of us right now. Okay, I'm going to move to pulling another one for Scorpio, but from this deck that arrived unannounced from a friend. I had no idea that she even, well, I wasn't too surprised, but I didn't know that she did tarot, and this came a few years ago. And I've only now started to get used to it because I used it for all the long, lengthy maxi full moon readings that I did. Okay, recently for all. Okay, so we got the Three of Flames. And look, this seems to be a balancing here with the Sappho card that I had pulled earlier from the Mother's Wisdom deck. So this looks more like I mean, neither of them are overly tagged as a certain gender, but this looks somewhat more like a masculine in the role of sort of a culture bearer and a point of reference and a sort of a measure and a place where we build the foundation. So others look to these two as for reflection, for recognition, but none of these in some kind of like top-down way. None of these in a hierarchical top-down way, or to, you know, crust it in like this is what it is to be masculine, this is what it is to be feminine, culture bearer. No. This is all individual. As a friend of mine says, there's a gender for every human being alive on the earth. And also, you know, when I'm drawing cards for Venus, you know, we all express Venus in different ways. You can look at your birth chart where Venus is, or you can just feel into it how you are an expression of it, and what of the story and what of the idea and what of the archetype is important to you, resonates with you and through you. Okay. A card for Chiron, because Chiron is I was going to do Neptune for dreams, Neptune and Pisces right now, and Uranus and Taurus right now, for sort of the expansion of dreams. But what that also brings along in Chiron is now currently retrograde in Pisces. Sometimes the expansion of dreams can hurt a little, because even if we're unhappy in a situation, or even if we feel constricted, we're used to, you know, there's a solace in familiarity, so that moving out of it can be painful. And also sometimes some of the things that you need to recognize in order to move out of it are also painful, hard to feel through. But then you come to this again. It's sort of being a leader, but not in any kind of bossy way, not in any kind of crusty way, but being a wayfinder. Just in that, by freeing yourself, you know, justice comes as a whole. You really do free others when you're honest, when the deepest sort of self-respect is the deepest sort of respect for others as well. Okay. The dreaminess, the dreaminess of Neptune and Chiron at this moment. The Hierophant. Okay, so I keep getting these sort of figures, that are sort of majestically and carefully, like teachers or stewards. So stewards of the dream there, or stewards of dreams, of any of our dreams, of all of our dreams, hopes, to be here. You know, we are all here to experience our soul's true shape and dignity. And for Taurus, sorry, I wanted to get this feather back up. For Uranus and Taurus, I got the Lovers. So that's like the higher or the deeper octave of the marriage card. I mean, you could say that was true for, you know, it could also relate to other minor arcana cards, but it's foundational. You know, we have the foundational story of, at least in the culture I'm in, of Adam and Eve, but you know, there's so much more to that story, and we don't need, and we can step into it and into any story anew, and we can have a playfulness in it, a playfulness in the role that we take on in it. As I'm going to also link to it, or mention in the comment box, another video by Amber White, where she talks about and you know, taking on the role almost like a kid would on the playground, so that you don't feel trapped in it, you don't feel false in it. There's a playfulness to it, and also it's not, and I'm adding on to that it's not. Okay, so I got cut off talking about how we might inhabit archetypes in a more playful way. And so really, when I'm talking about the foundationalness here, it's a renewal of the foundation, the very foundation of, you know, each heart in its body as its own little sun in this universe of sun and stars and all. And so when we inhabit any archetype, you know, it's almost like a costume that a kid's taking out of a box, and these aren't like state issued or issued from on high costumes. It's not defined, it's not outwardly defined, it's defined very much from our interiority, our playfulness, what we bring to it, and whatever costume we could put on, we can alter it, add to it, you know, take away from it, wear it how we wear it. And really, this, excuse me, it's a metaphor that I got cut off earlier, and it's a metaphor when I was trying to explain this, and also I'm obviously using the costume idea as a metaphor. This is within your very cells that you're expressing and living these archetypes and these stories, but you are remaking it. I mean, this is very obviously heteronormative situation here, but it doesn't have to be, and we can understand it, you know, on a cellular and on a celestial level, that it's so much more complex than any, you know, prescribed role could ever be. So what we can do is we can use these stories as a method, as a path, as a way to understand ourselves, as a way to understand others, but never falling into the trap of using it to limit ourselves or any other. To not be afraid of the fact that we spill out over that. We are so much more expansive than any one story could ever contain. Okay, and then for the crowning card, I had gotten the Three of Pentacles, and this Three of Pentacles, I see this as to let the burdens of your mind, you know, the way the mind tries to cope and help, even that sometimes doesn't help, So this is a letting go of anything that worries you about how you deal with the materials of this earth. Whether any rules of society or, economic systems that were, you get to step into everything as we all fall into alignment, as justice comes as a whole, as we find this depth of love that allows this playfulness to infuse any role that we might take on or coalesce into for any measure of time, within any book of dreams. We are not stuck anywhere. We coalesce and things happen, but there are no real rules besides the listening to your heart and the sensing into your soul's true shape, which is what we are all here to experience. And when each of us does that, as I said earlier, in a slightly different way, when each of us does that, it frees us all to do that. And I had written a couple of notes. As we are living, okay, there had been a typo, but I liked it. As we are living the dream, as we are weaving our strands of the web, as we are walking the path of wonder, path of wonder is something Sarah Vrba, another tarot reader I like to watch on Instagram, on YouTube, she had mentioned that, I think, in her new moon in Virgo. We don't know how it's all going to happen. We can't know ahead of time, even though our mind might want to. We have to trust in this most expansive view of an understanding of ourself and our experience, and trust enough to allow for surprise, to allow for a dream to come true, to allow, to trust enough to allow, rather than to sort of feel like you're going along this story and you already know what's going to happen. The speech and the silence of our awareness, your contemplation is part of your magic. That's all my notes. Those are my notes. Okay? Lots of love to you all.